A good bye week. I thought we did a lot of things really, really well. I thought we improved quite a bit, and I thought our guys practiced with huge, amounts of intention. And I just think, we're excited to get going into this week. These guys are obviously, you don't need me to tell you a whole lot about them and their running back and their entire offense and their entire defense and their special teams. It is what it is. Like we know the task at hand, and we're excited, to get a chance to go down there and compete. So our guys had a good start to the week today, and looking forward to continue that rolling as the week goes on.
How do you think last week went with focusing on yourselves, like you said you wanted to?
Very well. I thought it went very, very well. We got back to a lot of basic stuff for us. We really were able to, like we said in that last time, be able to pit our own guys against our own guys, and a lot of different things we did: wide receivers, DBs, running backs, linebackers, and then just a lot of good on good we were able to accomplish as the week went on. So it was a very fast week, and I thought today that carried over into this week. And we just know we got to start every practice fast. We have to start every game fast, and that's one thing that's just been, holding us back a little bit. We got to do a little bit of a better job of that. And then procedurally, we got to limit those pre-snap penalties. And I thought, again, good last week and a good day today to start the week.
I'm curious, are you game planning for both quarterbacks that they have, or prioritizing Criswell mostly?
Yeah, you got to do both now. The other kid started to get a whole lot more reps in there, and when he comes in, the ball seems to go downfield quite a bit. So there's a quarterback run game element to it, right? And then there's another, deep threat element to it. Not that they both can't throw it deep, but one guy, is a little bit older and seems to be used that way. So yeah, you have to have two different game plans going into this.
Curious, I know you're probably focused on this next game and looking forward, but did you watch the Gardner-Webb game and maybe see the slow start from UNC? Do you feel any better about that since they almost beat Charlotte?
I mean, ultimately, I think we said it going into that game. That running back was really good. The tight ends are good. The quarterbacks, manages it very, very well. There's a whole lot of good on that team, that you can't overlook. And, we're fortunate to get out of there with a win for sure. So I did watch some of it and saw a little bit of it, but it did not surprise me at all, though it's a very well-coached team with really good players.
When you're coming off of a kind of not an ideal performance against Gardner-Webb,
yeah.
and you're going up against a big Power 5 opponent like North Carolina, is there, did you kind of have to maybe sort of kind of create an atmosphere of just kind of calm and just kind of keep your guys being like, hey, we're fine, just trust the process, let's just keep moving forward?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because we actually had a meeting the other day where we went through and just looked up everything that happened in that game, right? We felt like we had to just kind of hash through it one more time just to put it to rest. And as we went through it, we just went through and talked about plays we got beat on, which were not many. And then we looked at plays where we either had communication issues or we had procedural issues. And ultimately, that's on me as the head football coach. And I think that as we go through that was something that we paid huge amounts of attention to as we went through last week and we went through again, today. And we'll continue to do that as this goes on, because we can't get down in the 10-yard line and go back 5 yards, right? We can't get down, have an unbelievable interception, get sacked, kick a field goal with 10 guys on the field. There's a lot of things that we went through in that game and just said it's not any one person. It was we. It was an entire we, and I like where we're positioned at this moment. I love where our guys are at mentally, and I think that game's behind us, and we're not going back to that game. So now it's just a matter of us moving forward here, and I think it's a great opportunity at the perfect time in the season to be moving down to Chapel Hill.
When you look at it on paper, you may see Power 4 versus a G5 team,
Yep.
but it seems like this year more than ever that any team can beat anybody any weekend. So what is your message to these guys when they're getting ready to go into a stadium like UNC's?
Just that. Right, just that we're not going down there to try to play a close game. We're going down there to win a game, and that's really ultimately what we are doing, is going down to win the football game, and our guys understand that. I think as you go through it, there's so many upsets, let's call it, that happen right now, and I don't know why. Is it just so many new people on all these different teams, and how do they gel together? Probably similar to what every team in America is going through, and I think that's one that we're certainly aware of. But we did a great job in the after halftime of both of those last games of staying together, and right now more than ever through that bye week and into today, I like where we're positioned.
This maybe even applies more to UNC, like in their scouting, but like so far, there's been so many common opponents, be UNC, Charlotte, Gardner-Webb. Like, does it make it any more like, I guess, preparing for a conference game or something like that, where there's a lot of film that overlaps like that? Yeah,
and what it allows you to do is just say, okay, we know what that guy is. We've actually physically played against that guy. And because we have, it's not only about scheme. You wonder how good of a player is that player, who's that player. You don't ever really know the personnel. You know it from what you're think you're seeing, but then when you go and play against it, you know exactly what it is. And I think that's where there's a little bit of a help in there when you have a chance to see those common opponents and you have a chance to understand, what maybe they're going against. So when we have a chance to, as we go and break it down, we know who's who because we played against them as well. And I think that gives you a little bit of help, with understanding the personnel, not only the scheme, but the personnel. And were they taking advantage of someone? This kid held up really well. Well, what does that say about their guy, right? Or this guy didn't. What does that say in good about their guy if we didn't do so well against that particular player? So that's really where you start to understand the matchups a little cleaner than guessing because you actually have experience on the field on game day with them.
Can't recall off the top of my head like a list of like legendary coaches that you have coached against, but where did Mac Brown maybe potentially rank on that list, and what does that mean to you personally, coach against him?
Yeah, probably at the top. I don't think he knows my name yet, according to Matt Transu. But ultimately, I remember watching, that game way back when, Texas USC. I think we all remember that game. I remember where I was. I remember the whole thing. Legendary, unbelievable, football coach. And I don't know him personally, but from what I understand, a phenomenal human being as well. So I'm excited to get a chance to meet him.
You mentioned wanting to start faster. What do you think has been the cause for coming out of the gate slow the first two games?
I think inexperience. I think we have a lot of guys on this team that have not played meaningful snaps at the FBS level, right? We have a lot of guys on this team haven't played haven't been starters for multiple years. We don't have that luxury. So I think that, to me, has a lot to do with it. It's that initial feeling it out. And those first two games is obviously where a lot of that happens. Now you get into a bye week, you can put your foot on the gas a little more, and then you come into this next one, you better put your foot on the gas. So I think that, I'm hoping that all, is on its way to changing. I love what we did last week. I love what we've done today. And I love what we're going to continue to do throughout the week. But we got to get down there and just go right away. We cannot wait. We cannot try to feel it out. It's not in a boxing match where you're just kind of trying to feel things out initially before you throw haymakers. We just got to go in there and play as hard and as fast as we possibly can. And that's really the MO.
And I know you were talking about good on good, and that was kind of the main goal last week, but just where do you feel like you guys are better now that you weren't a week ago?
I think just the overall I think just our overall attention to detail. I think our overall, being able to go, when you get to scout, you're looking for the look, you're talking about the look, it comes out, it's a little bit slower, and that's where you spend a lot of your time. And I think we all understand the need to be good on good, just for the speed piece of it, so that you are the physicality, the speed, and then the overall intelligence. It's not a play that we're necessarily preparing to see from UNC, but at the same point in time, our offense is going to run it. Do our rules, do we understand the intent of our defense called or the intent of our offense called? Do we know the outs that we have within it? Do we know the checks we got to make prior to the snap? Do we know the post-snap communication? All those things at full speed is what it provides you, and I think that's where, to me, we've gotten better and where we have to continue to get better.
From what you've seen of UNC on film, what are sort of some of the aspects of their roster and their team that just kind of impresses you?
Almost all of it. Yeah, I mean, you watch the running back, it's a different deal. He led the nation in yards after contact. So he's a big, physical, tough running back to bring down. So that's an exciting opportunity. They got two different quarterbacks. So there's two similar systems, but a little bit different for each. They have a tight end that is a tight end, but really is possibly their best receiver at tight end. So then you go through the list of everything they do in there. Their punter pins the ball 43 yards on the sideline every single punt almost, right? Their kickoff coverage team, their kick return, all of it is good. Then you get over to their defense, and the corners are unbelievable. The running backs track the ball down. The defensive end is disruptive. It's all good. I mean, it's all very, very good. There's none of it that is not impressive at this stage of the game. So we're very excited to have this opportunity to go down there and win this football game.
Last week, Cole Potts, after the Gardner-Webb game, he called this UNC game, one of the biggest games that any of these guys will ever play. Do you feel like some of the guys in your roster are kind of feeling the weight of that a little bit? No, not necessarily. No, not at all, actually. I think, will it be a big game for them? Sure, it will be. But right now, we're just focused on what we have to do today and what we got to do later today and then what we got to do tomorrow and one day at a time.
When you're talking about the guys that are now getting their chance to be the go-to guy here at JMU, what is it how much of it to get them up to speed is coaching versus them just getting snaps on the field?
Yeah, I mean, you could coach all you want, and I think we're doing a nice job of it, but you have to actually get out there and deal with some nerves. You got to deal with the ability to, see things maybe you didn't expect to see, the speed of the game, just the environment that you're in. There's a whole lot that you just have to live through. And I like where we, obviously being 2-0 after the first 2 weeks and dealing with a lot of those things and coming out in favorable outcomes is, a big positive. But there's a whole lot that we just got to continue to clean up, and that comes from actual snaps.
And from just your experience coaching, how long can that take sometimes to get those guys fully up to speed?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much like action they saw. How many times were they at the point of attack on that film? How many times were they the star of that show, maybe for that one play that they succeeded or failed in? Or were they on the back half the whole entire game and didn't see much action, and the ball never really came their way? Those are ultimately the questions. You need to be really, truly tested in fire, like we talk about, and it takes time. It takes, time, and you just have to get those reps. And there's not an exact formula because everybody's game's a little different. As a starting inside linebacker, you're in it every single play. You're not avoiding much of it. There's other positions that maybe it's not as much. So I just think that, there's no exact formula to it, but I think, after 2 games, you hope that you start to find your way.
I know I've asked about him a lot, but this is a pretty big week for GP.
Yeah.
Has he had any conversations with you, or have you seen him bugging Dean at all? Like, hey man, maybe schemes himself up for me.
Yeah, no, he's been up here a little bit extra, and we talked a little bit. He's excited for the opportunity as well.
Do you have any update on Io or Taji? Do you expect them to be a go on Saturday?
No, I don't. Taj looks good again out there today. Io we're gonna pace it throughout the week and just see where we end up, probably by Wednesday or Thursday.